Black in the building. Shout out to everybody out there at the corporate plantation. Yes, I'm back. Black in the building. Shout out to everybody out there. Shout out to my brother Dave from No Compromise. Georgia in the building. My brother James Youngblood, Texas. Erica, Florida. I see you, Shawnee. Everybody out there. All my siblings in Vegas. Yes, I have relocated. So, just handling different things and doing different things. Doing my podcast sporadically. Man, we gonna get into it. This gonna be short, sweet. And we gonna get into it. Let's get it. Man. R.I.P. to our brother Malcolm Jamal Warner, a.k.a. Theo Cosby from The Cosby Show. Now, I'm not going to go too deep, but my brother Theo was very conscious and very aware of his surroundings and very aware of Hollywood and how they did Mr. Cosby, Bill Cosby. How they railroaded him, how Bill Cosby was a forward thinker, how he made sure all the people that was up under him would be successful, would go to college and branch off and do what it is they need to do. I felt like he was vilified because he stood 10 toes down with Dr. Cosby. He never had anything negative to say about him, so I felt like they already didn't like him. His affinity for black prosperity and just how he viewed life in his perspective. So I have nothing but great things to say about that brother. He was a very, very deep brother from what you could tell. But I am finna get on this. I remember him doing several interviews about Malcolm and Eddie and how those dominant society writers will be writing shit that shouldn't be written in the script and just kind of making a spoof out of black people, and he just didn't really like that, and he talked a lot about that. He talked a lot about how the dominant society writers would have it all wrong, and he felt like a lot of the times it would be done purposely, and his disdain for Hollywood and all the folklore about it, and he spoke up about it. He was real candid about Malcolm and Eddie. Great interviews. Go look at. They probably took them down now, but I saw them a long time ago. He talked about those, he talked about, how you are on sets. You friends, sometimes you don't see eye to eye, but he said for the most part, him, Eddie, they were good, but he just felt like those writers, they just didn't really get them. And he didn't like a lot of the shit that they would be doing on the show. And his disdain for Hollywood was a lot of the anti-black racism and them pigeonholing black actors. And that brother was a real deep brother. And I knew they would vilify him because he stood 10 toes down with Bill Cosby. But haven't y'all noticed that every time an FBA person speaks out about the dominant society that never speaks out, something happens? Look at Angie Stone, how she was getting into it with her record label. She's like, they owe me millions and millions of dollars in royalties. And then all of a sudden, in a car accident, she's the only one that dies. You see these things. Even with the Lisa Left Eye Lopez thing, they get into an accident. She's the only one that dies in the accident. Then Angie Stone, she's having problems with the industry. And then Malcolm Jamal Warner was speaking of his disdain about the industry. Then all of a sudden, to me, he drowned and all. It just, some of this stuff, it just doesn't sound realistic to me. And that brother was a really intellectual brother. He was very intelligent. And, he didn't speak on things that he wasn't familiar with. But what shit he was familiar with, he would speak on. He would speak a lot about Hollywood, the ups and the downs. And he would be candid about it, but he wasn't disrespectful. Now I'm like, okay, now we need to send a message out. We need to send an SOS out to all of our FBA brothers and sisters, about speaking candid about certain things, because these are concerted efforts to remove people off the chessboard. Like when you hear Rodney Jerkins talk about how Michael Jackson, the greatest of all times, he basically Rodney Jerkins on The Breakfast Club basically said that Michael Jackson was like, they just don't like me because I'm the greatest. That's what I'm talking about. And that is why they didn't like Michael Jackson. He was the greatest in music, the greatest in business, and they didn't like that. When you own over 51% of everybody's publishing, oh, they don't like that at all. And it was a concerted effort to get Michael off the chessboard. It was a concerted effort to get Prince off the chessboard, Whitney off the chessboard, Whitney's daughter off the chessboard. Like, y'all don't see what's going on. Then you look at all the immigration, you look at what's going on. Now they're really upset because now that foundational Black Americans are not the doormats and the welcome mats to all the bullshit that's going on. And now the spotlight has been turned on every other racial group. Now it's an issue. Now it's like, well, where are all the black people at? That's not our fight. We don't have a dog in that fight. But we do have a dog in the fight of them removing FBAs from the chessboard. That brother was a good brother. You never heard nothing negative about him. He didn't play no bullshit. And I just felt like we need to look deeper into this. Angie Stone, great sister. She never even used D'Angelo to gain fame. You never really heard her talking about, oh, I got a baby with D'Angelo. She never said, people really didn't know that, because she carved her own lane. Then you find out that they owe her millions of dollars in royalties, and now in a car accident, she's the only one that passes away and everybody else survives. Stop. Like, this is just, and you know what? In the midst of all this, you start to think like they are really removing people. Look what they did to R. Kelly. Now, y'all knew what R. Kelly was doing in the 90s and in the early 2000s. And then when y'all got tired of him, all right, remove him off the chessboard. Then you went after Bill Cosby. Oh, couldn't get him. They just started plucking FBA people from the chessboard. You like, come on, y'all. We know what y'all doing. This isn't a coincidence. You see all this stuff, you see what's happening, you're like, this isn't a coincidence. These are just things that they have already planned. This is what they do, but they don't want to talk about Ghislaine Maxwell at all. She should be put under the prison. They ain't talking about Harvey Weinstein at all. They don't talk about Hugh Hefner at all, but they can't wait to rub R. Kelly in your face. They can't wait to talk about Bill Cosby. They can't wait to talk about Puff Daddy. Y'all notice they not really talking about Puff Daddy that much no more. You know why? Because he's probably about to get off. And all these people that was shitting on him and talking this no Diddy and all this sucker shit, now motherfuckers gonna be like, oh shit. We talked all that shit about him as if he was going to jail for life. Now that he's not going to jail, as long as everybody thought he was, now motherfuckers are quiet. Y'all didn't notice that? Y'all didn't notice that at all? They put it all on Puff Daddy as Cassie just got a chance to walk away clean. I'm going to tell y'all something. And I remember when that song, Me and You, came out. See, I'm a lyrics person. David don't compromise everybody in my family, especially in my family. We listen to the lyrics. We really listen to the lyrics. So I remember, because that song came out, 06, 07? Yeah. I remember I worked at Doolittle Community Center, and I'll never forget, these young girls were singing that song and doing the chicken head, and I was like, y'all need to stop singing that. And I remember a couple of people at Doolittle was like, why are you telling them that more? I was like, have y'all listened to what she's saying? Little girls don't need to be singing that. She's saying adult stuff. And then people would start listening to the words and they'd be like, oh, you right, Warren. Those other guys talk about the way I do what I do. They want to see if it's true. What y'all think she was talking about? You know what I mean? So listen to the lyrics. That was what, 06? This trial's out, what, 2025, 2024? She was telling you about what she liked to do on her get down in 06. I just think people wasn't paying attention to the lyrics. Yeah, you could say Ryan Leslie wrote them or this person wrote them. No, she wrote those lyrics because they're very plain and simple to understand. Go listen to Me and You. I don't want to play because I want to get a strike, but go listen to it. Really listen to the lyrics. David, James, anybody who listening, go on iTunes, go look up Me and You by Cassie, and just listen to the lyrics. I want you to listen to it 2 or 3 times. Just listen to it. And you're going to be like, oh, she's definitely talking about what she want to do and her get down. So don't have these dominant society people painting the picture like Puffy just the big bad wolf. So as they're removing all these people off the chessboard, we have to understand why. Why are they doing this? And like I said again, Malcolm Jamal Warner was very much a non-tolerant person of the buffoonery in Hollywood and the coonery and the Samboism. He wasn't with none of that bullshit. And those type of people are not tolerated in that atmosphere and in that community. So we have to understand it and give this brother props. This was a good brother. You never heard no sucker shit about him. He was very, very cordial. You always heard great, nice stories about him. And we got to start protecting our FBA brothers and sisters. Put your differences to the side to see what's going on. You know, yeah, you don't have to be best friends and, you know, even family. You ain't got to be around each other all day long, all day strong. You know how family can be. Spread out, but, you know, be cordial and understand what this walk of life is about, because this brother had a very great positive impact on the black community. Straight up. He was always for his people. You never heard him say no sucker shit. He always spoke his perspective and he kept it moving. And we have to understand that. They said like accidental drowning. I don't believe any of that. I just don't believe it. That brother was a good brother, and he spoke very highly of Dr. Cosby, and I know they did not like that at all. And he stayed 10 toes down. A lot of people stayed 10 toes down, and they didn't like it. They did not like it. And if you didn't like it, then give Bill Cosby his fucking $20 million back that he donated to them colleges, since y'all don't like him. So let's just remember this, man. Go back, you know, look at some of the interviews of Malcolm Jamal Warner, if you can find them, if they haven't scrubbed them from the internet, and just listen to what the brother's saying, because I've been listening to him. There's a comedian, Freeze Love. He was on Malcolm and Eddie, and he was saying some great things about Malcolm Jamal Warner and Eddie Griffin. Great things a long time ago. Freeze Love, he was saying this shit eons ago. So I'm very familiar with Malcolm Jamal Warner and his thought process and kind of how he viewed things. And it was never really no Sambo shit. The one thing that had me dying laughing when he said people would come up to him and be like, Theo, he'd be like, no, it's Malcolm Jamal Warner. You know what I'm saying? Which I'm pretty sure he probably get tired of being called that, but we just got to remember those things. Because remember, I'm going to say it again, Whitney, Michael, Prince, Whitney's daughter, R. Kelly, Puffy, Bill Cosby, Cuba Gooding Jr. They was going after all these black folk, just removing them from the chessboard. But we don't hear nothing about Harvey Weinstein, Ghislaine Maxwell. We ain't hear nothing about none of that. So remember, when they removing us from the chessboard, that's because they behind the scenes with the hidden hand got their own agenda and their own game. And as David from No Compromise always would say, and it sticks out to me more, you know, when I hear David say that to me, it just reminds me of the United Independent Compensatory Counter-Racist Code of Ethics by Neely Fuller Jr. And David would always say, hey, Warren G, you need to understand, bro. The dominant society are the masters of confusion, bro. Guilty, nigga. I'm out. I'll be hitting y'all up again. Peace.